My name is Wyatt Stewart, and I'm a pole vaulter at Madison Central High School in Richmond, Kentucky. I've lived in Richmond, Kentucky my entire life. I was born in Lexington, but we've always lived here. So I've been around the area my entire life, and we've grown up. Me and my brother both grew up playing very similar sports. If we didn't do the same thing, we're always doing very similar stuff. So we both played baseball for quite a while. Like, I played up until I was 13, and my brother played until he was maybe 11 or 12. He might have even gone up until he was 13. But so that was the main sport we've always done. We've also done like basketball, soccer, like all those very generic sports. Whenever I was in like 5th grade though, that was whenever I chose a sport that I did on my own, because he was doing cross country. That was the sport he did for himself. So I went off and did karate for a little bit. I did that for about a year or two. So it might have been 4th grade or 5th grade. And then it was once I got into 6th grade, my brother would have been a freshman here at Central. And one of the cross country coaches, which is also the pole vault coach, is Monty Orchard. And he was trying to get pole vaulters, because I think he only had like 3 from Central at the time, and I think he only had maybe 6 out of all of Richmond. So he was trying to get more pole vaulters, and I think what happened is he was trying to get my brother to do it, and my brother didn't want to, and I just randomly stepped in saying that I would do it because it was something that he didn't want to do. So I was like, I guess I'll do it. And so I didn't even know what pole vault was. And so now I'm doing it. And that's when I finally, I started that in 6th grade. So I quit baseball in 8th grade. So I played those two intertwined. In the middle of 8th grade, I also joined gymnastics for a year to get better with pole vault. And there was too much there really to do everything and be good at it. So I ended up dropping both gymnastics and baseball, just to focus on pole vault, because although I was good at the other two, I knew that I wasn't as good as whenever I was pole vaulting. And so I just really stuck with it. And now that's really been the only thing I've been doing. Like, now I'll do a few sprints here and there, and I'll jump every once in a while. But ever since 8th grade, so my whole high school career, I've basically just been a pole vaulter.
Ability-wise, is it your speed, your strength? Like, what did you felt stand out?
I was always sort of fast. I'm not too strong. Like, even now, I'm not very strong. My speed is probably my biggest attribute, my speed and my height. And so I would always say, like, in 8th grade is whenever you could tell that mostly the success came out of the technique I had and the speed I had to get off the ground.
Okay.
And I would even say that's how it is now. I'm much stronger than I was, but a lot of my successful jumps are based off of how much speed and energy I create and how well I can transfer it in my technique. So I would say about like 8th grade is where I started to realize that.
Okay.
And that's where I started to realize technique was actually important.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to 7th graders, 8th grade middle schoolers wanting to try out pole vault?
I think pole vault is surprisingly not as hard as most people say it should be. A lot of people are scared that they're gonna break a pole or something, and that's all you hear. It's like, oh, you pole vault, how many poles have you broken? And it's like, in the 6 years I've been doing it, it's only been 3. So it's not a thing that's gonna happen. So I think pole vault's really good for trying just to because you can pole vault anywhere really if you just get a stick. I think it's a really good sport to do, and I know it's not for everyone. I know some people just want to be a sprinter and some people just want to be a jumper, but I think for anyone wanting to consider it, I think it's a really good sport to do, because you don't have to be good at it to have fun with it, because you can be jumping 12 feet and still have the same like amount of fun that I would have jumping 17 feet. And it's just how you view the sport, I guess. With like running, I feel like it's enjoyable. I don't know because I'm not a runner, but I feel like whenever I'm running, I feel like I have to get a PR. I have to be really fast every time. But with pole vault, it's like, how good can I jump here? How good can I jump here on this pole if I do this form of technique? That's why I think it's a really fun sport to do for most athletes. But I think advice-wise to get good at pole vault is I think it would just be studying how the sport works, because it's a lot of physics involvement into it. And like you can look at many different athletes and you'll see that they're not all one type of pole vaulters. Some are really fast, some are really strong, some are just really tall. And it's like you gotta kind of observe how your body is and what you're good at and the technique to get through it. Like a lot of physics, like if you understand how to move the energy, jumping gets so much easier. And so I think it's all based off of how well you can understand how the sport works. I have always been very competitive, and so whenever I first started pole vaulting, I wasn't the best pole vaulter. I started out jumping. I remember being excited to jump 5 feet for like the first time. But what was exciting was, I guess, that kept me going was that I had people jumping higher than me. So we had new people that would be like sophomores in high school coming in and jumping 10.6 really easily. And I would be a year and a half in and jumping 8.6. And it'd be like hard to do that. And so one of Central's highest jumpers was Tristan Petrie. He jumped, I think he ended up jumping 14.6 in high school. He was jumping 12.6 whenever I first started. And so him jumping 12.6 is really kind of what made me want to catch up to him, because I always wanted to be the best. And then there's the fact that we had him, and then we had Danny Castle, who jumped 14.1 in like 1984 or something. And so I wanted to break the record, and I wanted to beat him. So it was all a matter of competition and just trying to keep one-upping everyone that I could. What I've noticed recently is a lot of people that I've been training with want to train every day. And they want to train for 5 hours a day, every day. And it's like, that's how I used to be. And although I was progressing a lot, I found out that if I train 5 out of the 7 days a week, take 2 rest days off, only train for about 2 hours a day, that I'm progressing much more, and my body is physically more capable to take up better jumps than whenever I was trying to jump for 2 hours from a long run after training for 5 hours the day before with no rest. So I think the level of keeping your physical and mental health in good shape and not trying to overwork yourself is really probably the best thing. And besides that, just learning how everything works, I would say would also be really good to do.
Yeah. So you talked about rest a lot, to be ready to vault to your fullest potential kind of quality versus just doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah. And another thing that, and I was only told this like this year, is I really just want to be good at everything, you know? So I want to be able to run for a really long time, and I want to be able to jump really high, and I want to be able to play basketball really good, you know? Like I want to be good at all of these things, but it wasn't until I talked to Louisville's ex-pole vault coach, Brooke Rasnick, in Reno, and she was asking me about my training plan, and I was like telling her everything about how I was running like 3,000 meters like 3 times, or 1,000 meters 3 times, just to see how fast and how far I could run. And she was like, do you want to be good at everything, or do you want to be a good pole vaulter? And so it's like it's like I knew about that, but once she tells me, then it was really when it sunk in that I'm a pole vaulter and I need to do pole vault stuff. I don't need to be running 1,000 meters. I only need to at most be running 50 to 100 meters. It's like, and ever since then, my training has been better and I've been more confident in how my body feels. So I would say that is a big part of it. Because in pole vault's a very hard sport because it uses your entire body. So you have to be fast, you have to be strong, you have to be agile. We'll start off, we like to do sprints and weights. We like to pole vault. We'll have gymnastics days. We'll do sprints and jumps, where it's horizontal jumps, bounding and stuff like that. And then we like to have a technique sort of day where we just focus on all this soft, easy stuff that's not going to drain your body. And it's kind of like a third rest day, but you're still actively working your body. So we like to have 3 to 4 hard workout days, and the rest of the week is kind of keeping your body confident still. We like to work a lot on flexibility and mobility just so we're never getting injured. We take a big priority in recovery this year because we don't want anyone getting hurt. So last indoor season, or 2 indoor seasons ago, my junior year, I jumped 17.7, and that's my PR as of right now. Then we got to outdoor, and I don't think I jumped anything over 5. I think the highest I jumped last outdoor season was 5 meters 3. And so I wasn't too satisfied with that. Then we come to this indoor season, and I was staying close to that 5 meter mark. And then I finally got back over 17, and I stayed over 17 for a little bit. So I was fairly happy with that. Although I would want to be jumping higher than 17.7, and I want to be in the 18-foot range, I'm still happy that I can jump in the 17 to 17.4 range. That's the highest I've jumped this year, and I'm still okay with that because I know I can jump higher, but it's just when it's going to happen.
Well, it is the highest mark in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And nationally, it's also one of the best.
Yeah.
So what next event do you think you could just challenge yourself at?
So I'm only doing 2 more meets as a high schooler technically. Technically I only have 1 because I'm going to state on June 3rd. And that's where I really want to jump over 17 because the state record only qualifies at state, which I think is stupid, but it only qualifies there. And so I want to at least get a 17-foot jump minimum at state because we've had 2 17-foot jumpers in the state of Kentucky, but the highest mark's only 16.3, 16.4. And so I think that's a little stupid that we have such higher jumpers, but the mark is so low. But besides that, the only other meet I'll have is New Balance, which if I can stay in the 17 to 17.5 foot range, I'll be happy. So I don't have to jump higher than that. If I do, it's great. But if I just stay in that range, I'll be completely fine with that.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'll be taking a little bit of rest and then starting my college workout plan. So the thing I enjoy most about pole vault is that anyone can really do it. And I think it's very similar to most all sports. You see people from the ages of like Mondo started when he was 7, and you see a bunch of other 7-year-olds pole vaulting. And you'll also see a bunch of people in their 80s trying to pole vault still. And that's a really fun part because it's just, you see that everyone can still do it. So you never lose hope that you're gonna be too old to pole vault really. It's once I turn 90 maybe, but there's still some people doing it. So I think just seeing the range of people pole vaulting gives you the hope to be anyone can do it and that the sport's gonna keep on growing. But I mean, besides that, there's a big thrill level to pole vaulting. You kind of have to be mentally tough to pole vault, where I feel like there's a lot of other sports you don't really have to be as mentally tough. I think with pole vault, you have to convince yourself that you have to jump off the ground with a big pole in your hand and throw yourself into the air. I feel like you have to have some sort of mental toughness to be able to do that. My favorite workout that we'll do is probably the gymnastics stuff, because that's kind of like a free day almost. It's like we have a set workout that we do, but everyone seems to really enjoy the gymnastics because none of us are gymnasts. So we're all doing the hardest gymnastic stuff we can do. So the most complex thing is me doing a round off back tuck, which if you go up to a gymnast, that's pretty much nothing. But for us, it's just the most fun because we're trying new stuff all the time, and it's not like our body is stopped or is peaked at one spot. And with weightlifting, you gotta keep doing the same exercise all the time. With gymnastics, if we can't do something, we'll try a different variant of it. And we'll just keep doing that until we finally get the confidence to go for something. Before a competition, it's a weird variety. I never really get hyped up. I'm just I always focus on just trying to keep everything the same. So I'm always listening to Elvis all the time. And I just like his music. So he's never really giving hype music, but it's just what I like to listen to. So.
Got it, Elvis. All right. So that kind of makes me think of another question. So you're standing there getting ready for a vault, and then you have distractions. You hear the gun go off.
Yeah.
You see camera people near you. How do you stay focused while that's happening?
Sometimes the camera helps. Where was it? It was New Balance, I think. Or no, it was Milrose. Whenever you're standing on the runway, you look up above you and you have the Jumbotron and you're just standing on it, and it makes you run faster somehow. I don't know what it does, but I run 10 times faster. My jump looks so much better. The gunshot though is a big problem, because back to breaking a pole, you don't really notice that it happens. It happens so quickly. You snap a pole and you just hear the sound and you're on the ground. So you have to be aware when the gun's going off, because if you jump and the gun goes off, your first thought is the pole's broke, and it throws you off. So we have to be aware of the surroundings. And of course, we also have to keep looking, because some people like to cut across the runway. So it's not like we can fully focus in, but we have to be aware of everything and focus in. But the biggest thing with focus with me is I just sit at the back of the runway, much farther than where I run from, and I try and watch myself go over the bar, or the feeling of going over the bar. And then once I feel like I can clear the bar in my mind, then I'll step up and I'll actually do the jump. So that's why if you're ever watching me compete, I'll be at 150 feet on the runway, just standing there, and then walk up to where I have to run from. Yeah. The clapping's another thing that helps, and I don't know what it does either. I don't know if it's the tempo of it that makes you want to run faster, if it's just people are watching you so you don't want to mess up. But there's something about it that just makes you run and jump better. Whenever I was at New Balance, I was having bad jumps. As soon as I got a clap going, I was able to move through my poles much better. I was getting upside down. So I don't know what it does, but it just makes you jump better.
All right.
The only really interesting thing about me that I would say is a little off is that I do musical theater, and I'm in a choir class. It doesn't mean I can sing, but I am in choir and in musical theater, and that's just something I've enjoyed doing. And so I don't know, it's nothing very spectacular, but it's just another hobby that I have.
Okay. How do you feel about extra clubs giving you extra training? Do you ever feel like that's too much training, or tell us your thoughts about it?
Well, in my experiences, I've been pretty much everywhere throughout the country, and I've learned different things, and people say the same thing differently. And so, besides my club, we like to go up to Pole Vault Atlanta, Buckeye Pole Vault, clubs like that. and they have really good advice. And although they go off of different things, they still speak the same thing. It's just in a different way. And then along with that, you can go up to different college coaches, and it's just description of the sport. And I guess the more you know about the sport, the easier it makes it, because then you can be like, I don't really like what they said here, but here was fine, so I'll take that. And then you can piece things together and make your own sort of understanding of the sport.
If you could tell your younger self who was starting to get serious about training something, what would it be? What would you think about it?
I couldn't say one thing I'd go on for. I could probably write a book to myself about what I would want them to know. Because I guess what makes it easier is I'm helping coaching other kids right now. So I basically go ahead and get to tell them what I wish that I knew. And I do think that a big part of it is overtraining and putting too much stress on trying to get good. I think slowing down and just trying to specialize in everything is probably the best thing to do. And that's with any sport, I think.
Okay.